Hello everybody. I hope this finds you well. Come to my attention very slick and well produced videos. I'll put the name up in the sidebar over here so you can follow the link too. I will play some excerpts from it and attempt to answer the questions put forward by this. They're very good questions.
The first question I ask is whether or not the Bible is infallible. Infallible means inerrant, or incapable of making mistakes or being wrong. Or, if you're really willing to follow the point to its logical conclusion, if some things in the Bible are false, then it's possible that there is no God, that very little, if anything, recorded in the Bible ever happened, and that when we die, we just fade away.
Are all the history books accurate? Are they? Oh, if you find a mistake in a history book, do you throw the whole book out? Do you?
Two contradicting statements cannot be true at the same time. In other words, if I say that P is bigger than Q, and I say that Q is bigger than P, I can't be telling the truth both times.
Which is bigger? P or Q? Which is bigger, P or Q? Kind of depends on how you're looking at it, don't it?
If it is infallible, none of its statements can contradict each other. If even one biblical statement contradicts any other biblical statement, at least one of them is wrong, and the Bible is not infallible.
Let's say you witnessed a crime, and there were 4 other people there that saw the same thing happen. This is called witness testimonial. All 4 of you are going to see something different. Does that make all 4 of you liars? Does it?
In Matthew chapter 27 verse 5, the Bible says that Judas Iscariot threw down the pieces of silver he received for his part in the betrayal of Jesus. He then hung himself and died. In Acts chapter 1 verse 16 to 19, the Bible says that Judas Iscariot bought a field with the silver. Then he fell on a rock in the field, his bowels gushed out, and he died.
Like I said, eyewitness testimonial. All this shows is that the apostles didn't get together and compare notes. This actually adds more credibility to their testimonial, does it not? I don't believe that any of the apostles were actually there to see him betray Christ. I assume that they each heard different stories and wrote down that, or told that story which they heard.
In Genesis chapter 1, trees, birds, and other animals were created before man was created. In Genesis chapter 2, trees, birds, and animals were created after man was created. Don't
you think the people that put together the Bible saw this? Could it not be that there were 2 separate creations? Wouldn't that explain a lot of the extinctions and such before man? Wouldn't that explain all of the old remains of humans, pre-human forms? The difference between Cro-Magnon and modern man would not the first be a reference to that? We all know through geology that the plants and animals and even men had something happen to them, and that we have now different plants and animals and men. Both were wrote by different authors. Different authors wrote both of those. Neither one of them were there when it happened.
In Genesis chapter 10, there were many languages before the Tower of Babel. In Genesis chapter 11, there was only one language before the Tower of Babel.
Who made the Tower of Babel? Was his name Nimrod? One. The first one is in reference to what happened after, and the second one goes back and tells you how this happened. Read it carefully, study it. Don't take this people's word for it. Wasn't that one of the things the English Empire did when they conquered a country? Force all those that they conquered to learn English?
In Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Judas made his bargain with the chief priests before the Last Supper. In John, Judas made his bargain with the chief priests after the Last Supper.
Again, you have two separate witnesses, three separate witnesses. Two of them saw it one way and another didn't know the other thing. Not surprising. Happens in the court of law all the time. You get 5 people see the same crime, you can have 5 different explanations of what happened. What's so amazing about that? Doesn't change the word of Christ.
In Matthew chapter 27, Jesus answers not a single charge at his hearing before Pilate. In John chapter 18, Jesus answers all charges at his hearing before Pilate.
I'm not aware that any of those apostles that wrote of the trial and crucifixion of Christ were actually at the trial. Again, hearsay evidence does not mean that either one were wrong, just that one didn't know what was said, the other one heard it from someone, maybe a guard or something, what he said. I don't know. Could that be possible?
In Matthew chapter 27, Jesus is given a scarlet robe. In Matthew chapter 15 and John chapter 19, Jesus is given a purple robe.
I hold here a piece of cloth. What color do you see here? What color is this? Piece of cloth. What color is this? Can your eyes tell me what color this piece of cloth is? Let me turn on some light here just a second. Now what color do you see?
In Mark chapter 1, Jesus began his ministry after the arrest of John the Baptist. In John chapter 3, it was before the arrest of John the Baptist.
It depends upon which apostle it is, don't it? Christ did not gather all of his apostles until after. So in their eyes, they didn't know about what happened before.
There are other statements in the Bible that contradict each other in slightly more subtle ways. Like in Exodus chapter 9, verse 3 to 6, where God destroys all the cattle, including horses, belonging to the Egyptians. Then in verses 9 to 11, the people and cattle, what cattle, are afflicted with boils. Then in chapter 12, all the firstborn cattle, again, what cattle, are destroyed. Then in chapter 14, after having their cattle and horses killed by God, twice in some cases, the Egyptians pursue the Israelites on horseback.
My grandpa lost all of his cattle one time from anthrax. Had to kill them all. They had all had it. Of course, he had to kill his pigs too. 3 days later, he bought more. You mean the Egyptians didn't know anyone else to buy cattle from when theirs died?
The point here is clear. The Bible is not infallible. The Bible is not reliable. The Bible is not even coherent.
1 Corinthians 13:13. And these things still abideth, faith, hope, and charity. Have I just lied to you? Do those things not still abide in the earth? Is there not still faith, hope, and charity? Certainly hope so. Who's the deceiver here? Really?